All right. Well, first of all, good morning. For those of you that I have not met, I'm Gene Hambrick. I'm the director for the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. And I want to first welcome you to the second year of the Earlham Prize for Creative Capitalism, the business plan competition for social entrepreneurship. So, in my mind, and hopefully in your mind, these are exciting times for this type of initiative. The world needs more people, especially students, that want to do good by doing well. So I want to welcome our Earlham community, for those of you who are out, for the students, faculty, and administrators. And then I'm not sure if I see any of our Ivy Tech, IU East, Indiana University East, and Purdue Polytechnic, but this will be videotaped, so welcome to you as well. And then we also have community partners, and so we'll introduce some of those as we go along. We're building off the success of last year's very successful competition. We had 17 teams, and I know some of the teams, in fact, started up a business up in Kenya, and the 3 teams that actually won have continued to do their entrepreneurial endeavor. So this is a nice springboard competition for those of you who want to do this going forward. And so I think this is going to be another exciting competition. And before I review the details of the competition and get you started, I need to send a whole bunch of thank yous out. So at Earlham College, I want to thank Amy Holthouse, who has helped us get some additional funding for this. We'll talk about that a little later. Caitlin Fleener wears a lot of hats, but one of which was the Lilly. She manages and stewards the Lilly endowment, but she was also very influential on obtaining the Blue Buffalo Award that you'll see shortly. Kathy Hapschmidt manages all of our money and keeps me straight because I'm not a finance person, but I like to drive financial people crazy. Lon Fon, who's our marketing intern, who does a lot of the posters and all the communication that goes out. Laura Hinckley is another person in institutional advancement who makes sure the money's tracking the right way. Marketing Communications Department. The Net Impact chapter of Earlham. Is anybody here from Net Impact chapter? Right? So they do a lot of supportive things, including helping us with the workshops, the marketing communications. So Net Impact chapter, if you haven't heard of them, or you should be engaging with them. We had several students go to CGIU through the Net Impact chapter. So there's a lot of things that Net Impact chapter can help you with in developing your social entrepreneurship endeavor. Sarah Paul is our foundations person and does a lot with Lilly. And Roma Zubair is here. She's our CoLab project manager. Without her, none of this would be happening. So let's give them a big hand, because without them, that's the foundation. Some of you know that we've reached out through initiative of Avis Stewart, who said this would be a really cool partnership with the other institutions across campus, across the city, and across Wayne County. So Ivy Tech, I have to thank Chad Bolzer, who's the new, he got a promotion, but the new chancellor of the Ivy Tech campus, Peggy Terrell and Scott Caldwell at Ivy Tech. Tim Scales is my contact at Indiana University East, and at Purdue Polytechnic is Michael Swain. So these people help us in getting the message out, but increasingly, as you're going to see, there's a team from Ivy Tech in this competition. They've already connected with the Earlham people, and we're trying to recruit, I don't know if it happened, a person from Purdue Polytechnic to be on their team. So this could be a very nice springboard to increase collaboration across the county. Our donors, of course. And so Blue Buffalo, how many of you know Blue Buffalo? Couple people and the judges. So Blue Buffalo is a pet food company that has decided to relocate one of their facilities here in Richmond and Wayne County. They're building a 450,000 square foot facility out north, I guess would be where it is. Yep, north and west. Or west. And so they've given us some financial support, but more importantly, they're looking at Earlham students for internships and permanent employment. And if you look at if you look at their website, these positions, both internships and permanent employment, can go across all the majors. Okay, so this is an important addition, and we want to support them. Caitlin, did you want to add anything, or is that a decent summary? Decent summary, right? We have a new donor called the Economic growth group here in Richmond, you're going to see that they've given us some money as a bonus award, and we'll go into that one a little bit later. Levinson Foundation was one of the founding sponsors, $20,000 US that sponsored Team Methane Hub's incubation and let them go forward. So we have to thank them. Through Caitlin and Sarah Paul, the Lilly Endowment is sponsoring about $25,000 US of this prize. And then we have a number of anonymous donors. So all of this money, if you notice, is outside money. None of the funding is coming through Earlham. This is really important. So I'm actively going out, recruiting cultivating new donors and getting funds. But we need to thank these, otherwise we could not be doing this. So thank you. And then last but certainly not least is judges. This is where people do not have to get up on a Saturday. Gino, did you just fly in from an assignment? You got in at what? Back to Richmond at what, 1 in the morning? Midnight? So these are folks who said, look, I want to give back in any way I can to this Earlham Prize for Creative Capitalism. So it's called Time and Talent. Some of them will probably give some treasure. I'm looking at Phil, but some treasure at some point. So we have to thank Caitlin Fleener, who's returning judge, Gino LaRoche, who's a new judge, Phil D'Amico is a new judge. Phil D'Amico is not here today. He's coming, that's the one that's going to Notre Dame today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's going to Notre Dame.
Phil.
Yeah, the other Phil. Phil Morgan is here. He's our Chief Investment Officer at Earlham. Scott Underwood is a returning judge, and Scott Zimmerman. So thank you very much for spending time with us. This is really important. So with that, let's get started. The Earlham Prize for Creative Capitalism is one of the many bold and innovative initiatives that Earlham has started through the Earlham Plan for Integrative Collaboration. We sometimes call this EPIC. So this is one of the ideas and initiatives that is spawned from EPIC. And then most of you know this group, but this is Team Magic Bus. They won the $1 Million Hope Prize 2 sessions ago, if you will. And so it says to me, and you've probably seen the video, that anybody in this room could start on this journey for their social entrepreneurship goals and objectives. These people should be very familiar to you. This is the team that won the complete round, and they did it from start to finish. Team Methane Hub they won the elevator pitch round, they tied for first in the Cameo Round, and they won the $20,000 US in the finals round. So they were sitting in these very seats almost a year ago, trying to put together their ideas. As they would tell you, oh, we were a little nervous here and there, but they actually went through the process, and at the end of the day, hopefully they would also affirm this, that they are on the way to achieving their social entrepreneurship objectives. So that's to tell you guys this is possible. So let's start and talk about the details. So this is a program, it is the business plan competition, but we have a focus on social entrepreneurship. And social entrepreneurship does not just worry about profit, we worry about people, planet, and profit. So all of the business cases that you're putting together should have a focus on that. Now you could get up and present a business plan that focuses on profit, but the judges have a rubric that actually gives you points for social impact. So it's okay to talk about, here's my business, here's my market share, etc. But unless the judges understand what's the social benefit of this, that may not resonate as well as you move forward in the competition. Applicants. So in this room right now are current Earlham students. Earlham School of Religion has an opportunity to participate. The Earlham Master of Arts of Teaching could participate. I don't think we have a team this year, but they increasingly are interested in entrepreneurial marketing. Ivy Tech, Indiana University East, Purdue Polytechnic, all can have teams in that. Now, if they have a team, they have to have a current Earlham student. It's not because that we're trying to say Earlham is better than these schools are. It's not because we want to run the team. It's because of taxes and the way the donor intention is. So please, 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 whenever you hear, oh, Earlham has to partner with, it's not because we're trying to dominate the team. We've heard this for 2 years. It's getting in the way of us getting teams on board. So to the audience and also to the video, we are encouraging teams from Ivy Tech, Purdue Polytechnic, and IU to join us. It's a 3-stage competition, elevator pitch, cameo round. From some suggestions from last year's judges, we inserted the Shark Tank round, and we'll talk about that a little bit, and then the finals round, of course. The dates are here as you can see them, so we're kicking off today as we speak with the elevator pitch. Cameo round will be December 2nd, the Shark Tank round will be March the 3rd, and the finals round will be March 31st, 2018. What are we doing today? The applicants have submitted their proposals. The committee reviewed them and made sure that, one, they had a confirmed team that met the eligibility requirements. We've looked at the submissions for the ideas. The judges have a synopsis of those ideas. They'll be using those to see how you do versus your plan, etc. 2 minutes for your presentation. Lon is my official timer. And so at 1 minute, we'll hold up one finger. Now, some teams last year said, or the person said, don't do that to me because it's distracting. And so if you say, when you get up, we would prefer you not hold up the 1 minute finger, not the other finger. You know, tell us that up front, and we will make sure that we don't distract you. Limited to a one PowerPoint slide, and some of you are entrepreneurial, as Scott Underwood said. Some of them are bill slides, so we will accept that they're bill slides. So, but in theory, you should have one slide. This is the rubric that the judges are using to evaluate you as a general template. They're also listening for how you relate to what you submitted in your business idea. This is real money. So this money is not meant to go get pizzas and buy a car or books. This is money that should be designated to starting your own enterprise. So this is real money. Caitlin Fleener manages this, so she'll reach out with you as we rank them. She'll let you know how the process goes. But this is real money that you'll get actual check and start to develop your enterprise, and the process works fine. The next round, I won't go into any details. The cameo round is where the top 10 teams move on to the cameo round. Those 10 teams are guaranteed, they have to compete, but those 10 teams are guaranteed $1,000. Because as we move to the finals round, which is only 5 teams, we want those teams to continue to try to develop their business idea going forward. So this $1,000 is a little seed money for you. The Shark Tank round is new, okay? So it's interspersed. As the cameo round goes from 10 teams to 5 teams, the judges ask, we need more time with these teams. So this is an opportunity, and we'll do this over in the collab. A team will come in, you'll have developed your business model canvas, and you're well on the way to developing your business plan. You'll present as if it was the business plan. The judges will then, like in Shark Tank, take apart assumptions, ask you questions, but they'll also do some mentoring to help you get ready for the finals round. Okay? So this is not to get you eliminated, but it's to help you be the best you can be for the actual finals round. So that's our Shark Tank round. And these judges and Phil D'Amico will also participate over in the collab, and we'll bring each team in one by one, so there's no worry of you peeking around the corner, but that's the Shark Tank round. In the finals round, you'll actually have done your business plan. You'll have a 20-minute presentation, not in this room, over in Goddard, on the big stage, just like the whole prize. So you'll go up, you'll have a 20-minute presentations with however many PowerPoint slides you can fit in, and appropriate slides you can fit into your 20-minute presentation. You will make a presentation to these judges. They will go off and they will decide the winners. So, again, this is real money. So Team Methane Hub won $20,000 to help them start up their business last year. They've started down the journey. I think you guys are headed to Haiti in Christmas? Winter break. So this is money to help you get going, get started. Now Scott Zimmerman, who's, as you saw was his title, he is also responsible for the Innovation Lab. He has said we'll give you free space at the Innovation Lab for 1 year so that you can actually go down there, so you don't have to be on campus, or you actually have worker space to go down to his space and actually bring your team together, etc. So this is real opportunity to get you up and running quickly. We've now received an award or a gift from the Blue Buffalo for $5,000. I put them in second place as the Blue Buffalo Award. They will be here probably at the finals round, maybe the Cameo Round, but definitely for the finals round. So this is the Blue Buffalo Award for the second place team. And then if some of you have been keeping up, we've actually increased because we had some money through the Lilly Foundation to do some additional gifts at different levels. So third place is now $2,000, fourth place is $1,000, and fifth place is $500. Now, as we go through the actual competition, we may be able to adjust that. I'll work with Caitlin Fleener to see, oh, you know what, we have a little extra money. Why don't we plug it in some other award level? But this is the official. We'll let you know as we move through if we've adjusted any of the awards. So I talked about the Economic Growth Group. The Economic Growth Group is a group of very philanthropic people here in the Richmond area that are focused on Wayne County economic growth. So they have decided to give us X amount of money for what we're calling a bonus award. If in the finals round your business plan focuses on Richmond and Wayne County. So this money is over and above whatever you win, doesn't matter what level, over and above that, the finals round money, the Economic Growth Group here in Richmond would give you an additional X amount of money. Okay. Does that make sense? So you don't have to modify your business plan or idea to fit this, but any teams that are focusing on Richmond and Wayne County, there's another X amount of money from the Economic Growth Group. All right. So, questions. Are we ready? Are we ready, teams?
Yes.
Teams, are we ready?
Yes.
All right. Judges, are we ready?
Yeah.
I don't have to make that. They're ramped up. So I'm going to turn it over to Roma to set you up and get the thing set up. But this is the order. And so what we will do is we'll announce one team to come up, and then we'll give you a heads up that you're on deck, second, and ready to go. So I'll turn it over to Roma. Thank you. Good luck. Remember these faces. Team Methane Hub was in the same position. Hope Prize people were in the same position. So good luck to all. Thank you, judges, again. And with that, I'll turn it over to Roma.
So the first team is La Centuria, Santuaria, and Alejandra will be presented.
Okay, and on deck is
Easy Connect.
Hi, good night. Trafficking has been documented in over 25 industries in the United States. So what does this mean? If you are subjected to force, fraud, or coercion to perform some kind of work without any payment, you have been a victim of human trafficking. In industries like agriculture, domestic servitude, commercial front brothels, victims tend to be young, indigenous women aged 14 to 29 from Central America and Southern Mexico. That is the problem we are trying to address. Those are the people affected. And they tend to come from Central America and Southern Mexico. It is important to think of trafficking like a supply chain. Trafficking starts the second the victim is extracted from their hometown and transported to the destination industry. If a victim is extracted, that is, if she escapes, she will typically need shelter. The problem is, these shelters are consistently underfunded because they depend on small-scale philanthropic donations and, if they're lucky, a grant. Our goal is to start creating self-sustaining shelters that can escape the cycle of funding in this part of the world, in Oaxaca, Mexico. What we would do is transpose and improve a model developed in Mumbai, India by an organization called International Sanctuary, tailoring it to local needs, local businesses, and market demand. Our innovative twist is to offer training in some useful office skill or craft. So for example, International Sanctuary trains people to make jewelry and then they sell them online to a U.S. market. And that has been extraordinarily successful. The survivor herself is given a fair wage, And then the profits go into supporting the activities of the shelter. Eventually, some women enter the workforce, while others become managers of the shelter itself. What is the magic of this idea? Well, firstly, theoretically, you could apply this exact same model to any shelter where a victim of any kind of thing requires transitional housing.
Thank you.
Good job.
Judges, up to 5 minutes, but because we have so few teams, you could extend that a little bit.
Who do you envision providing the training, and what type of training do you expect to offer at these shelters?
So that's an excellent question. I think you're supposed to say that for every question. What we're envisioning eventually is being able to do this for a variety of shelters, not only say in southern Mexico, but theoretically everywhere along where trafficking happens. And so we would tailor that specifically to local needs. And so say in Oaxaca, Mexico, that type of training would be provided not by us, but by somebody that practices local crafts, which are very popular. And I think H&M has started to sort of appropriate these kinds of things and selling them. So that we're talking about embroidered shirts, certain kind of like, what's the word? Certain types of woodwork, certain types of jewelry. So all that's very popular in U.S. markets is you can see sort of by H&M taking on sort of and using them to sell. But in Oaxaca, that's the kind of thing we're talking about. And we could typically, and it's easy to find sort of micro-loan entrepreneurs that can be sort of paid to provide this training and then eventually teach it. And then because they tend to come from these indigenous communities, we tend to be family businesses. So to put that sort of more succinctly, we're talking about an indigenous craft or a craft that's like local to the area being taught by people that practice that for a family business to women that have found themselves in the same situation.
Why, my question is why you all, why this? What makes you all particularly skilled at working on this problem, and why have you chosen this problem?
Well, so I personally, one of my partners has extensive experience with sort of refugee issues. She's carried out several research reports. Now, human trafficking in particular, I think, is compelling for a number of reasons. And I have experience working in the National Human Trafficking Hotline. I was there for 4 months over the summer, and I was the database manager for a thing called the Global Modern Slavery Directory. And so I ended up sort of managing content for over 6,000 shelters for human trafficking victims across the world. And this is the pattern that I noticed, because I was supposed to call these people up and say, hey, are you still active? Can you still be included? And oftentimes people wouldn't be because they would go under, right? And so I think that both my partner and I have previous experience in sort of noticing or researching particularly vulnerable populations, and we have found this pattern that oftentimes they're not, they're underserved, and they continue to be underserved because they depend on philanthropy. Hey, Scott.
You make a bit of an assumption that you will be able to identify victims or survivors. Do you feel that that is the case? You will be able to actually have clientele?
We need to go. So we need to go a little bit into the details of how this happens. So as I mentioned earlier, I worked at the Human Trafficking Hotline for over a little over 3 months. 3. I'll keep it at 3. And so I was able to sort of intimately identify how this process happens because I would shadow in the hotline. So typically, once there's training, and literally, I think what I have noticed after working in the hotline is that it's everywhere in the United States. But what typically happens is that victims are detected by police, by religious sort of, oftentimes it's priests, that kind of thing, Oftentimes, it's medical officials. People notice this in hospitals. Like once you train a hospital, the hospital is able to detect this very, very quickly. In Indiana, for example, the police force has received extensive training, and Indiana actually has how to put this? So say there's more human trafficking happening in Austin, Texas, than in Richmond, Indiana. Well, not Richmond, Indiana, but Indiana is better able to detect victims, and so there's more victims reported in Indiana than in other states because the police force has been trained. Right? So it's really a matter of learning to identify where this happens. And so once that happens, of course, again, Caitlin and I are uniquely positioned to create partnerships with the National Human Trafficking Hotline and the NGO that runs it, right? But again, like I said,
So you have the judges have a little bit more time, so please.
but yeah, just to wrap that up, it's really just a matter of training the eye to find these things.
So if this is happening, like, as you say, everywhere, why Oaxaca? Like, why is that the base of your operations?
That's, again, another excellent question. I wanted to say that as I finished up the presentation, I think the magic of this is adaptability. So I do want to note that if we were to note at some point that Oaxaca is particularly challenging for a team, we could theoretically move it to Texas. But having said that, we picked Oaxaca for two reasons, right? One, the population there is the young female population there is particularly vulnerable to this problem. Just because of, again, a lack of economic opportunity and a lack of protection in general. But one of the other reasons why it's a particularly compelling destination is because the trafficking routes have been documented using data from the National Human Trafficking Hotline in the United States. And so, as I mentioned, having been the content manager for the Global Modern Slavery Directory, that area is particularly underserved, even though it goes right to a trafficking route. And it's sort of a source county. So if you have a shelter there, you're able to assist people right as they're being trafficked. Oftentimes they're deported and have to go back to their sort of hometown without any support. We would be there to assist. So that's kind of like the why.
Scott.
So my compliments on picking somebody else's model and adapting it for your use. That's good entrepreneurial behavior. Steal something that somebody else has used, modify it, and because you've seen the good and the bad. Another, I think, when you look at a U.S.-based model, it'd be sheltered workshops that they have in a lot of different communities. The question I have for you is, I know we're early, but how do the numbers work? How do you want to be financially self-reliant and sustainable, which means your numbers have to work. Right. Otherwise, you are either relying on somebody's grants or somebody's pity buying of your stuff, which is not sustainable. So how does that work from, I know like I said early on, but how many girls in the shelter, how many, do you live on the margin of, they get, like a traditional employment agency would work, how do you make your money? How much of that do you have to do to make it go?
So we were thinking, and again, this isn't based on any practical experience, but we were expecting that at least initially the rates of return would be similar to what you would see with a microloan. Okay? Because how does a microloan work? Someone starts it's a small scale business that is served by someone in a traditional type of craft, right? So we'd expect that to be the initial rate of return. Again, that's hard to find what those are, but I mean, again, microloans do operate throughout all of southern Mexico, and again, I'm pulling this out of...
Sure. And my encouragement to you is you go for, a microloan is for someone who is selling corn or selling this, or they have a product and they know that if I buy it for this and I sell it for that, I'll make X, and if I do enough of these X's, I'll have my money.
Exactly.
My encouragement to you is if you don't know that right now,
to try
get there sooner versus later.
Right. And then, that's good to know. So we would hope eventually to move from some kind of microloan model to eventually doing, as I mentioned, these kinds of crafts that we were thinking about, like the embroidered shirts and like certain types of jewelry have become very popular with sort of mainstream things like Forever 21, H&M. And so ideally the goal is to be able to market this for sort of young, the demographic that shops at H&M, and eventually start to mimic more, say, an Amazon type of sort of revenue skew, right? Because you're able to market this at your US market and you have all that infrastructure. Yeah, we'll look that up. We'll look at microloan.
Good. Thank you. Good job. Easy Connect. And
Next is Mahashni Farmers Initiative. So done. But Easy Connect.
so Easy Connect is coming up, and on deck is
Mahashni Farmers
Right.
Initiative.
Several economic papers link economic development to transportation. And transportation is one of the main issues affecting our community here in Richmond. Over 80% of businesses in downtown Richmond is failing due to lack of foot traffic. And 1 out of 3 main reasons why people drop out of school or work in Richmond is due to lack of reliable means of transportation. The existing bus system, Roosevelt, is failing because there are few buses, they are taking large routes, and they are not running as frequent. This is where we, Easy Connect, a means of coming together, comes into play. Our solution builds on the infrastructure already existing in our community. Earlham College, Ivy Tech, and IUE, they all have their own shuttles trying to meet the demand of a small community of their own students. Easy Connect will try to connect these together and create a cost-effective, convenient, and on-time network of buses. Our system will be less strained. We'll use small routes and as a result run more frequent. In addition to this, we'll have a mobile application that will give access to our users to see the schedule, book the bus, or just keep track of the buses. We have reached out to Earlham College, Ivy Tech, and IU East, and we have seen enough interest from them. We have also talked to Richmond High School, Reed Hospital, and Excel Center as potential big provider of demand for this product that we're offering. Easy Connect will work to bring these dispersed pieces together and contribute to the economic development of Richmond.
yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Yes?
Have you looked at the fact, as far as your business plan here, that if your business plan is economically viable and there's demand for that, why has, say, Rose City not offered that same type of service? Why are they doing longer routes and not offering this?
Yeah, and that's a good question. You should probably ask Rose City. But yeah, that's the problem. Like their basic model is fundamentally different. They're trying to operate a large-scale bus transit system that is viable in cities like in Indianapolis, when you have 800,000 people. You can run these minor routes because each route is still economically viable. But because Richmond is such a smaller city, like each route isn't economically viable, and that is why it doesn't work. So running a loop that hits only the major parts within Richmond and runs as more frequently as you see, it's around an hour. So you can run about 2, maybe 3 buses an hour, and you'll have that running probably half an hour, close to like 20 minutes or so. That is why I think our plan would be better. But ask for a good question.
So I'm a little confused because the paperwork that we have here on the application, my understanding is it talks about college students sharing rides with one another and creating an app to allow students to do that. But now you're talking about a bus route.
Yeah.
So it's the bus route version or the app that shares ride version?
We kind of had to tweak it coming onto it.
Okay.
However, like what we wanted to do was incorporate into the second stages, because like we said, we cannot find these like minutia routes that we can offer like a ride sharing program that will help like handle these minutia routes, which is the second part. But the main part we're trying to focus on is just running the large loop at first, and then we're going to branch out into our second phases of offering a minutia route and possibly teaming up with like Richmond Taxi Service or like to offer like these branch off routes that like would cater to this thing. But this is our first project. This is our first plan.
I I'm also confused. So how do you make money? So you're going to take resources from the colleges that they've already invested in, and you're going to deploy them efficiently in the city.
Yeah.
Where's the money flow? Like, do the students don't pay to get on the Earlham van?
Yeah.
So,
Right, so good question. We wanted to have it in a way that it will be $2. It would be $2 of fare for anyone to get on the bus, right? And then we can offer like discount packages for like monthly rides and whatnot, but that would be our flat rate. So that's where the income money is from. We're looking to also like create a partnership with the schools that if they would give us subsidies to help run the bus route, and therefore like students might not necessarily have to pay. So that because students giving us subsidies to run the route and like do this, that would not be a case, which is also another factor in where like.
but the school's responsible for the gas and maintenance of the vehicles?
No, we will be responsible for that. We will take over like maintenance, gas. We'll take over paying for the drivers as well, and all of that will be funded through the $2 fares that we will offer.
So how many $2 fares do you have to pay for all the things that you just picked up? Because a bus that drives around Richmond empty is burning gas, and you gotta pay a driver, you gotta pay maintenance for the 0 people that are sitting on it, versus an Uber.
Yeah.
When you hire an Uber, you pay the driver, the driver gets paid and they make a little bit of cut, but when the driver's not working, he's not getting paid. So how do you deal with empty buses?
Well, yeah. We try to decrease or minimize this possibility of our buses running around the city empty. What we did is, first of all, we just hit the major parts of the city. We did a research, and we talked to people who had done research in Richmond, and we found out which routes are the most popular here and high demand for those routes. So we're targeting those areas basically. That would ensure, and we have talked to Ivy Tech and the Excel Center, the high school, and for example, high school has like around 50 students that take classes in Ivy Tech or one of the universities, and this is like a consistent, it's going to be a weekly consistent route for them. So they will ensure that we will always have demand for our service.
Okay, so how many, do you have any idea what the break even as far as ridership has to be to make it go? Do you have to have 100 students, 1,000 students, 500 riders, 1,000 riders?
And also, what happens over the summer?
Yeah. That's a good question. I'll answer yours first, I guess. Leave the tougher questions for last, So because we're trying to cut down on costs as well, like the model we're going to run, we're not going to run constantly all the time every day. So we're going to run during the peak seasons, like in the mornings and in the evenings, and then we're going to run on the weekends at different times, and like later on in the afternoon to keep, and later tonight so the customers can go out and have fun in the city and all that type of stuff. So yes, and during the summer the bus will not be running as often either, because it's not that much of a demand. To answer your question, we crunched at some numbers, and we think that having around probably 200 people a week or so maybe could that would make us like way above like profitability, I think.
Okay, so that's 200 people, just for clarity's sake, 200 people paying $2 a piece,
Yeah.
$400 a week in revenue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And what do you see as the social benefit or social impact from this business model?
Great question, and I could talk about it. So many economic studies have linked economic development to ease of transportation, and it's well known that if people have an easier way to get to their job, get into school, get into all of these places, like a football game, for example, or to the downtown Roscoe's, spurs people to
Finish your thought.
That spurs people to go out there and to actually actively participate within the community. So that is the social benefit. We're connecting with the already existing community of Richmond that is already isolated, that people don't go to downtown as much because they don't have an easy way of getting there or whatnot. And that is our social benefit. We're looking to connect people and to make it like a closer city.
Sorry, adding a
In
little bit.
30
to what you said.
seconds. 30 seconds.
Yeah, I did a research over the summer and interviewed a lot of businesses downtown, and their concern is that there is no demand. If we create this work and it increases the foot traffic in downtown, it helps a lot of businesses to survive and keep on, and that leads to people from out of Richmond who initially lived in Richmond left because of the lack of good circumstances here. They'll come back and they'll just build the community back together as well.
Thank you. Roma, who's up?
So next up is Daniel, who's presenting on Mahanchini Farmers Initiative, and on deck is Resource Fuel.
We came for that.
All set?
Yep. All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hunger and malnutrition still remains as one of the key challenges facing many people in the world today, despite the fact that up to 70% of the population in many developing countries practicing farming as their main mode of occupation. Still, most of the people in these countries still face a lot of food shortages as well as famine in these areas. And that is from the fact that the land that they do have is not being well utilized. Our initiative here will seek to form collaborative partnership with these farmers and be able to utilize these land resources, especially the idle ones, to introduce new strategies in which they could create value for this land and as well be able to make profit for themselves and for us, since they'll produce a commodity that we can sell as a mashinani farm product and pay them back a commission from the sales for the use of their land. We'll offer our services using several platforms. One of the platforms that we'll be able to use will be the Mashinani Farm Partner, which is our main platform, and in this, the farmers will be able to register with us, and we'll give them the necessary inputs and information and support that they will need to produce a commodity that we feel we can sell well to the market and create profit for ourselves and also be able to pay them back. As we speak, we've already installed a few beehives in one of the farms that we have there in Eldoret, Kenya. And as you can see also, we have the concept of hanging gardens, and from the picture is also another concept we're trying to introduce to these farmers. We're trying to introduce farming strategies which are more manageable and do not rely on weather, which is one of the other elements affecting yields. The other thing will be the Mashinani Global Farmer, which will introduce growing of crops that we can export, and we also want to utilize the app itself, the online services, where our farmers will be able to link online to get our services and interact with the other farmers, as well as be able to access market opportunities and suppliers and potential buyers. We want to utilize the unemployed resources that we have to enable our services proceed, and as well as use this last platform to sell our products. So, Mashinani Farmers Initiative, you did it, we'll grow it. Questions?
Yes. So your write-up was very impressive and extensive. And so I have two questions for you. One is, how is the beta test of the beekeeping happening now? And the second question is, again, why this, why you?
Okay, the first question about the beehives. Usually when we install the beehives in the region that I'm from, usually it depends on the location and also the climate to some extent. But it takes from a period of 6 to 8 months for the honey itself, for the bees to be able to process and harvest and for us to get this honey. So as we speak, almost half of the beehives right now have been occupied by the actual bees, so that's a plus for us. And we will await to see how the harvest potential is and how much harvest we can get from such, from the number of beehives that we put, and then we'll aggregate that as an output and see how profitable this will be to introduce the concept to other farmers. We chose the beekeeping project because right now honey is a hot commodity that people sell, and we also feel like it's not, the retail system that is being used right now is not that efficient, it's not formal, and people try to dupe or add some other water, sugar, syrup to the honey that we're trying to sell. So we're trying to introduce some quality checks in the way we produce our honey. We want to emphasize a lot of quality in our brand and produce a Mashinani farm product honey that will be suitable for the market and will appeal to a lot of customers out there. As for the other question, I grew up as a farmer and I have seen a lot of challenges that these people face. the month of May is usually a good month for growing and cultivating land. But when I went back home this summer, it was a dry month, and people were really being affected. The food prices have doubled, or more than doubled, in the end, essentially. So the thing with us is we don't want a farmer to grow the same crop that they've been growing, because usually corn is the main, the staple food that we have. But as time has been, the time progression, corn is no longer that profitable. It's not, a lot of lands are not able to produce corn anymore. So we want these farmers to be able to grow other products in which which we can sell for them, give them a commission, and then they can use that money to now buy whatever commodities that they themselves would need, rather than trying to plant something that will not do well. And also our system emphasizes on growing using this farming strategy, which does not rely a lot on external factors like climate change. So for instance, that picture about the garden farming there, it is a small manageable system in which many farmers can be able to utilize. And with the beekeeping, that doesn't really require a lot of it's not labor intensive and doesn't require, it's not affected by climate changes as such. Yeah.
Have you looked at kind of the supply and demand in terms of, say, the saturation point? Let's say on the beehives, at what point would no farmers be making any money because there's going to...
As I talked about it, the food prices right now, especially in Kenya and I'm pretty sure in most developing countries, is pretty high right now. Many people cannot afford it. So our plan is we can't be able to even lower the price of what we're selling, but be able to generate profits from that. But the thing is, we want to create an economies of scale by partnering with as many farmers as we can. And it's not just beekeeping that we'll be doing. We also introduce other concepts. We also want to venture into food farming, for instance. But our idea is we want to invest into farmers who've shown they have the willingness and the potential to partner with us, and essentially we produce more cost-intensive investments onto their land, such as creating a greenhouse for them. Once they've satisfied us that they're able to work with us to achieve our goal. Our goal is to be able to use these land resources, be able to pay the farmers for allowing us to use these land resources and produce a commodity, high-quality product that we ourselves can sell using the normal mode of services, which means this is the common system of selling most wares, which is it's an informal system that we want to use. But we'll also introduce the more formal system of selling to retail outlet chains, and as well as introduce sort of like delivery services, which is still a premium concept that we're trying to see if we can offer to specific locations, limited to specific locations. So the market saturation point, I think in the long term that would be something that we will explore, but as of right now, there is a huge market potential for this. First, in terms of being able to lower these prices and access a wider share of the market, there we'll be able to get the services, and also the quality of our products will attract these buyers and take them away from selling or from buying the commodities which are no quality or unscrupulous, as I have mentioned, or like example.
Great, thank you.
So you make your money,
Yeah.
like you're going to be a wholesaler selling it to retailers?
Not entirely.
How do you make your money?
One of the ways we make money is we want ourselves to be this a spot where we can process. We can collect all these materials and process it and package it, and then actually I think we might be like some wholesale to some extent, but then that is using the retail formal sector, the retail outlets. But we also want to utilize a lot of this informal sector using these the traders who normally tend to be women most of the times, and they can be located in various trading spots because that's where the area of operation is, and we just partner with them and they'll be able to sell our products, and as well as act as a drop-off point for some of our farmers who can deliver their services directly to them for them to sell, and then or for them to collect, and then we'll be able to collect them from these people, and the farmers will get a share from what these dealers are able to sell from that. Exactly, that's right.
Well, who supplies the bees? Who's your suppliers?
Who's my suppliers?
Yeah, like where do you get the bees from?
Well, We have this, in our town, we have this organization which mainly deals, they're the ones who actually offer, they've sold some guys for us at a discounted price. So they are the ones who offer these, the big colonies in essence. So like, usually they just like the queen bees, but they're not colony bees around that.
So you buy the bees at a discount, you give them to the farmers, they make the honey,
Yes.
you sell the honey,
Yes.
and you give them a cut.
Yes.
Okay. Time's up unless a judge has one specific question.
Why aren't they doing this already without you?
In my location, in my region, and I've done research on this, this concept is not actually operational as we speak. The idea is we have bee farms in such other areas of the country, but I believe our concept is being able to utilize our farmers themselves to provide the resources and the output, because these other farms, they have to own the land itself, they also have to use their own labor to produce this commodity. But for us, we believe being able to utilize the idle land resources of our farmers and as well as their labor to enable us to produce this would be a more cost-effective strategy and will enable us to expand more into these uncharted territories of farms. Which
Great, thank you. Who's up? Roma.
So next is resource fuel, and on deck is the breakfast club.
Yeah, it's okay. But before I start this thing, I just want to make a note that what I'm presenting is going to be it's going to be completely different from what you guys might, what you guys might have.
We'll have to listen then. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Are you all set?
Yeah. Yeah, you can disregard the thing.
Okay, we're ready to go.
All right. So coming from a capital city from Nepal, I can relate to the problems of transportation we have currently in our city. So it's due to unplanned urbanization and crowding from various villages to the city. We have very narrow streets that cannot accommodate a lot of vehicles. As you can see, it gets very crowded, and the public transportations are not as efficient because there's a limited amount of buses we have, so it tends to get very crowded and people don't get a lot of seats, and that's the problem. And it gets inconvenient for people to get from point A to point B because the public transportations are not convenient, and if you want to hire some cabs, it tends to get expensive. So we want to start, this is where we want to tap in, so we want to start a bike share program in Kathmandu, which can eliminate the problem of transportation. So what we want to do is we want to provide customers with reliable, convenient, cheap, and a healthy alternative to the public buses systems. So what we want to do is we want to set up an online platform where people can register and they can rent our bikes, and which is going to be price competitive to the buses, but it's going to be cheaper than the cabs, so it's going to be a healthier alternative. And we're going to set up bike stations to various locations within Kathmandu, which is going to make it more convenient for people to get the bikes, and they can subscribe to it, and so they can use the bikes. So it's going to be a healthy alternative, and we want, since the government is also promoting bike lanes and stuff and they're developing programs, so we want to develop a cycling city, so which is going to be easier, convenient, and it's going to consume less of the petroleum products, and it will be more green. So that's what we're getting at.
Thank you. We have a teammate coming up. So judges, questions?
When did you decide to change your approach?
So first we were planning to do something in Richmond, something we were thinking about doing recycling in Richmond, but so we did, since we just been here for two months or so we don't have a lot of idea about it. So we wanted someone who is here, who lives in the US, to help us. But due to, I don't know, various reasons, we couldn't like coordinate with the person properly, so we had to decide on going by our own self. So, and since I had an idea about the problem that exists in Nepal, so we wanted to tap in on that market instead of doing it.
So going forward, because you know you're going to move forward to the Cameo Round, are you going with
We're
this
going
idea?
with this one, yep.
Okay, so we'd like you to resubmit your,
Yeah.
and get it to Rome. So
So that picture with the red bikes looks like Indianapolis in terms of they have those kinds of stations. Are you, which is, it's not a bad thing. Are you just literally kind of export, take something that's working here and just be a distributor or a kind of a over there, or are you going to add something unique to it?
So the thing is, like, I looked it up online and did a little research, and like the way I saw it, so the things like this is very expensive to take in Nepal and like make a profit out of it, because so it's like for 8 bike stations they cost around $10,000 if you want to buy it here somewhere in the US. So that's not going to be viable for us, because first, it's a developing country, so we can't charge a high price. We need to be as competitive as the public services. So what we're thinking is doing something quite similar, but like in our own. We're gonna start it up by ourselves. We're going to like develop the software. We're gonna outsource it in Nepal. We're gonna develop the whole stations in Nepal, so which is going to be cheap. So our plan is to have like within the $20,000, we're gonna have 50 to 80, if not 100 bikes operating within the city. So I think if we do, like if we want to export it, it's going to be expensive. So we're going to start it.
Borrow their idea.
We're going to
do it over there.
It's the concept is similar. It's going around US, Europe, and all those places. But I think since no one has tapped in on Kathmandu, so I think it would be a better option because it's a market that hasn't.
So follow-up question to that. That has a credit card station and the kind of technology that makes that go. Is the infrastructure there in Nepal that, because obviously part of the reason they're doing that is because they're trying to, when someone doesn't bring a bike back.
So what are we going to do is, we're going to have a registration program, like within a site, so you have to register yourself. We're going to have to like get people's ID card or something so that they're registered in the program, so like they can't run away with our bikes.
Who's going to repo the bikes, yeah?
Sorry?
You're going to show up at their house, repo the bike, jump the fence and pull it out the back there?
We're going to have like a legal system to get it, like if in case someone tries to steal it, but we don't have like the credit card system we have in here, but there is still like online banking stuff that is available. So we're going to use that in our platform, so we're going to have online banking, and they're going to have, we also want a phone app, so it has like, so through the app they can like we're planning to use Bluetooth. I don't know if it's going to be within our budget, but if it does, we're going to use Bluetooth system so that like when you register for yourself, you book a bike online, and when you go to the station, like you connect it with Bluetooth and get a bike. And that's the system we're trying to implement.
I have a cultural question. Sorry, I've never been to that. Is cycling a thing? And do people...
Yeah, there is.
And do women have
so
clothing that allows them to ride a bicycle?
Yeah, so we're targeting the city area. So it's quite similar to what we have in the US. So yes, women do use bicycles. Bicycle is quite fairly common. But the thing is, like the people, like an average consumer, is going to have a limited budget. Like they have $200 to $300 a month in salary. So buying a bike might not be as, like if they start saving, it would be viable, but like they have other things to take care of. So buying a bike might not be as convenient for everyone. So we want to start a bike share program, and the prices are going to be similar to what they would be using, like the public transport. But it's going to be convenient because it's not going to be as, like you don't have to get cramped up in a crowded bus to go to your work or like a school. So like the area we're targeting is called Ring Road. So it's like a big highway that circles around 2 major cities, Kathmandu and Lalitpur. And the thing is around 27 kilometers. So the diameter would be roughly 10 kilometers. So it's not like people can get from one place to another on a bike if they want it. So we're going to have multiple stations around this area in the beginning. so that it doesn't get inconvenient to park the bike or
So is the social impact to provide low-cost transportation to people who currently don't have access to transportation, or is it to attempt to get vehicles off the crowded city
So
streets?
we want to help people who have to go to work on a daily basis on a public transportation. It is very convenient, and so we want to start like reducing the dependency on non-renewables and also like promote a healthy lifestyle. And also, so it's for the schools as well. Like high school is like 11th and 12th grade. So till 10 schools like run buses, but when you get to 11th or 12th grade, usually schools don't usually provide bus for the students. So they usually either have to drive by themselves, like I have to depend on my parents to get me there, or like use a public transport. So it's going to be easier for the students and like workers who work or like not too far away. They can use the bike. So it's convenience, cheaper, and healthier.
So would you, because these stations, I mean, they have to be in populated areas, are you expecting to try to like lease this land from, or partner with the city, or how are you going to navigate that?
So first, so the primary plan is to like contact the metropolitan or like the city and try to get them help us set up stations without any cost. But if that doesn't work out, we still can use these places like popular places like around schools, like malls and stuff, which is not so expensive because we don't need a lot of land to set up stations. But we can have those options if we want, and still I believe we can cover variable costs. And so the research I did on the places that do have this, they have an expected growth of around 10% every year. So if we also can manage the same thing, I think we can get the cost cut return by 2 years and start expanding.
Any questions, Joe? Thank you.
Okay, so on deck is Java.
Let us know when you're ready.
So one of the major contributions to Vietnamese student obesity on the West is their unhealthy breakfast diet and breakfast routine. Primarily due to their parent inability to prepare the breakfast because of time conflict, time constraint, and their limited access to their reliable food research. So we came up with a solution, a high quality and convenient food service that provide fresh, nutritious, and safe breakfast meal for the student. For our service, the class-to-class delivery system that have an e-commerce platform that allows the student to order and customize their breakfast diet. We had from our diverse menu from the club, our program, and the local restaurant. Our target audience is the student, but the main buyer of our company will be the school administrator and the parents, who are mainly responsible for the student breakfast diet. Our revenue will come from commission and delivery fee. We have strong competitive advantage through our partnership with directly working with the school system and the local breakfast restaurant, so we can like add the database of the student to create a diet recommendation for them. And we also have a unique ordering and delivery time frame that does have little competition right now. We hope to create social impact through cultivating a healthy diet for the students in Vietnam, which will help them improve their academic performance and their physical development. And we want to be the assistant for the school and the parents to have them take off the duty of breakfast from the school and the parents. Thank you for listening.
Judges, what is your connection with schools if you're
with that. So I talked to a few principals of some elementary and middle school right now, and they're talking about they don't really enjoy their breakfast system right now. They have like the kitchen cooking in the early morning, but they have to serve the large capacity of the student, and also they feel like that's financial burden rather than like the financial burden for them. So I want to work with them through that. And also they have a lot of healthy standards that we want. They believe that outside restaurant can meet up rather than the spend quite a fortune to like prepare the kitchen and their food in a certain standards.
Where do the kids eat breakfast?
Normally we have like break time. So either they eat breakfast before the class, or they have break time after the first two classes. So they spend the time eating in like half an hour or 45 minutes of break.
So they eat at school?
They eat at school.
The breakfast would be
Oh, I forget.
at school.
I forget to mention that in our country, in Vietnam, parents do not like cook their, normally they don't cook their breakfast meal for the student. They rather like go out and buy the food for their kid, or they take the kid to the breakfast restaurant, they take the kid to the
Yes, I noticed that your business plan for growth and for this to work is going to rely on investors because of the cost of it. Who do you envision being investors for this, and how would you access those?
For the investor, I believe we can have both the public side and the private side for our service. The public side, we can rely on the school administration for initially helping out with us for our delivery system. And in the public side, we can rely on the Ministry of Education as well if they want to establish a healthy breakfast diet and breakfast system for their school system. And also, I believe that investors such as maybe local restaurant who want to access a larger base of audience or customer, we can come and reach out to us to help us provide our breakfast service.
Okay, so partially subsidized by the schools and the local government, and then by private or public partnerships.
I'm trying to understand why you wouldn't be able to work with existing restaurants rather than establishing your own food truck range. Or am I not understanding?
Maybe it's for my wording. So we want to work with the local restaurant mainly rather than like provide our own meal, because the capacity, the number of students we serve every day could reach to like 2,000 to 5,000 students a day. That's like a large number. So we need like the restaurant to provide the food rather than us have to like create our kitchen, create like a restaurant, a factory to create to produce the food. We can just work with the local restaurant to help us provide food to the student.
So right now, there's no breakfast served at school, or is there breakfast served?
Right now there's breakfast service at school, but they rather very like cheap, and they do not really care about the diet of the student. So what they try to do is just fulfill the duty of like, oh, we need to give the student like some food for their breakfast. They don't really care like, oh, they actually need this kind of vitamin, they need enough protein, so they can like go through like the classes from 7 a.m. to 12 a.m.
So the students who are wealthy enough to be able to have a catered breakfast will be able to have this, but the students whose families don't have the financial resources will be left to eat the existing breakfast.
That's not our mission statement right now, because for us, we try to serve the public system, which will have a wide range of financial background for the student. And our breakfast service is actually very cheap compared to like if you had to like spending buying the food from the school, because from the food of the school is normally 10 to 20% more expensive compared to outside restaurant.
Oh, so the students have to pay for what they get at the school now?
Yeah.
So one of the hardest things to do is to change consumer behavior.
Yes, sir.
How, is there demonstrated need from the kids that they'd rather have kale than donuts?
Did you understand the question?
Can you repeat that?
So just because I want you to eat healthy, one of the problems I have in schools in America is they put veggies on their plate, and all the veggies go in the trash, and they eat what they don't want them to eat. So people won't buy what they don't like. So you have to change. Are the people clamoring for? Are the people desiring healthier choices, or are you just desiring them for them?
That's why we had a diverse menu that would can subsidize some of the protein or the vegetable with perennial food product. And also because we use the food from local restaurant, they already have their, for example, a sandwich. They, instead of just a sandwich with meat, they always have sandwich with meat with vegetable like cucumber and different type of vegetable that's inside the sandwich already. So that would be their whole combo right there. And we also provide meal, fruit that would be supplement for this food.
Then how do you make money again?
Our money will come from the delivery fee and the commission from the local restaurant. We want to eventually be our revenue want to be eventually be going from the commission instead of the delivery fee. That would reduce the cost the student have to pay for our meal. And we want to work with even new restaurant or established restaurant which want to reach a bigger customer base, so they have to pay us somewhat of commission or referral fee, and that would be our main income.
So this is a logistics question. So the family orders the meal maybe the night before. It's delivered the next day to the school. Is it then the food truck that the students line up outside and get their meal based upon their order? Is the food delivered then to the school cafeteria? They keep the food warm or cold? How does that?
That's what we try to work with the school to see what is their preference right now. Some schools they prefer to have the food delivery to the school cafeteria and then distribute back to the students. But some schools prefer we have our own delivery system that would go to each class to work deliver the food directly to the student. Maybe because in Vietnam our class system the structure is different from here. We have a class of students of 40 or 50 students staying together and take and the teacher coming in and out, not just coming to different class. So that's why we want to go to the leader of the class or some of the students and deliver the food to them so they can redistribute to their classmates.
Okay. So you could have a class of 40 or 50 students and 8 meals get delivered, and so 8 students sit there and eat with 40 people not eating under that model?
We try to serve the whole student.
I understand, but if they didn't order and their classmates did.
They can totally share the food. That's that if they want, because our meal is our combo is hopefully can be shared between the students within the class. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Hey guys, my name is Jairo Mendez. I'm a senior here at Earlham College, and I'm presenting my team's company called DABA. So there are about 24 million people that live in the U.S. that have little or no access to food or healthy food. Usually this is because they don't have enough grocery stores in urban cities, or because they don't have the transportation to get there. One of the things that we are trying to tackle is the problem of food deserts, and we try to eliminate the 2 constraints of transportation and there not being enough grocery stores. One of the consequences of not having access to healthy food is either has an impact on the health of our customers, or there's a lot of long-term consequences that can be related to heart disease, heart failure, obesity, and diabetes. These long-term consequences is what really impacted us, and that is why we created DABA. So DABA is taking a smart city approach to tackling our food desert problem. And the way that we do this is by using technology to better serve our communities. We're trying to take advantage of our growing e-commerce market and the growing food delivery market to try to tackle on this problem. Through our infrastructure, we're going to try to deliver our groceries fast and have affordable prices. One of the ways that we can have affordable prices is through our store brand, and this will allow us to cut our costs by about 40% as opposed to traditional supermarkets. One of the advantages of DABA is that our startup costs are low cost compared to traditional supermarkets. Where it'll cost about $500,000 to $1 million to start a normal supermarket, this will only cost about $70,000 to get it started. Now, DABA is trying to increase the access of healthy food, and we think that we can do this through developing a better city through technology. Thank you.
Judges?
Any questions?
Was that really where you were ending your presentation?
Excuse me? What was that?
Did you have more presentation?
No, that was it. I tried to condense it there at the end.
Okay.
But yeah. Yeah.
Okay, there are a number of existing grocery store chains,
Yeah.
most of which offer delivery service.
Yeah.
How will you compete with Kroger and Whole Foods, Amazon, and all the various grocery chains that have the ability to deliver into these neighborhoods today, but they may not be doing much business there because they're not making money?
Yeah, so that is a great point. There are a lot of competitors, but what we're trying to do is trying to create an infrastructure that allows our operations to minimize costs while maximizing profits. And what this would do is that we'll try to build an infrastructure that could deliver these groceries for a lot cheaper than your traditional supermarkets. You see that Walmart, Kroger, and all the things that you mentioned, they have a lot of operational costs, whether it's just their employees or having to pay for the retail space. One of the advantages of DABA is that you don't really have to pay prime location for something that is virtual and through an app. So this will allow us to cut a lot on operation costs, and we don't have to pay for cash registers, a lot of inventory, a lot of shelves, because everything will be in centralized delivery hubs where people aren't actually going to, they're just ordering it through an app.
So there are many companies who have crashed on the rocks in this domain. We used to have home runs, and I can't even remember the name of the app that I used to be able to get things delivered in under an hour back when my kids were young.
Yeah.
And they've all gone by the wayside. It's hard for me to imagine, given the depth and reach of Amazon, that you have found a better way.
Yeah, so of course, yeah. There's obviously, I wanted a lot of questions because it's a very complex business model. There's a lot of parts to it. But to start out with Amazon, they just have a huge untapped market that they have not got into. While it may be easy for them to go into food deserts, the infrastructure that they're building or that they have built throughout their 20 years would just not be easy to build a system like what we're trying to do. So the infrastructure that they have is on a global scale, and what we're trying to do is really focus on our communities. And I forgot to mention we'll be starting in Kansas City, which is a food desert. So the infrastructure that we build will try to take advantage of the untapped market that Amazon does not have. Currently they have a lot of Prime members, but those are usually people who make, their key demographic is people who make over $100,000 who are able to afford the Amazon membership and have access to a lot of other high income and food delivery access. And then another point of your question, I forgot what's Webvan. You might have been thinking of Webvan is a 2000 .com boom company that tried to grow and they just tried to expand way too fast because they saw the huge potential that e-commerce brought. While working with the local communities, we're going to try to expand within the communities and try to have a big community presence and not trying to be nationwide while we start out. So I think that will give us an advantage to really focus on where we're doing business and not have the mindset that we're going to expand throughout the whole nation in 5 years, because that is something that has destroyed delivery, food delivery in the past.
So you're trying to have local relevance, particularly in Kansas City.
Yeah, so one of the reasons that I chose Kansas City was because I was actually able to do an internship there with the Kansas City Startup Foundation, and I was able to connect to a lot of entrepreneurs. And Kansas City is a big tech-driven city, and it's trying to become a huge entrepreneurial city driven by technology. And the connections that I was able to build there could only help me grow this in the future. So, yeah.
So theoretically, your market is where food deserts exist and people who do not have either the transportation or the access to those areas.
Yeah.
But have you done the research to ensure that those people who generally don't have access to transportation, oftentimes due to financial reasons, that they actually have smartphones, that they can use the app?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I want to clarify that I want to create an infrastructure that allows fair use for everyone in the community. So while I'll be targeting major food desert cities, the goal will be to everyone to participate and just serve the community fairly. But to your point, a limitation to technology is a concern. It is something that I was well aware of when I started. But what we actually see is that low-income neighborhoods, people who have less education, minorities, are actually a lot more dependent solely on their smartphone than they are because they can't afford other broadband services. So what you see is that these communities are actually a lot more dependent and use their smartphones for everyday tasks because they don't, they can't afford a Mac or they can't afford a new computer. So that is one concern that I had starting into it, but it helped mitigate it by their dependency on smartphones.
So you'll be a retailer?
Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you'll be a retailer. So you're going to buy from local farmers, you're going to buy from wholesalers?
Yeah, so the goal will be to buy from local farmers. I really liked, 2 years ago I heard about Chipotle's initiative to try to increase local sourcing. And that's something that's always been in the back of my mind. Not only is this good for local development, but it also just helps the economy of the city. So local sourcing will be a key part to this. So we'll be working directly with the farmers to supply us with vegetables, fruits, and other things like that.
So you expect your retail prices to be equal to Meijer or Walmart or?
We're actually looking for them to be more affordable because what you see a lot in grocery stores is a lot of big brands fighting for positions in the marketplace. But through us, everything is going to be store brand. What this will allow us is that we'll have connections to all suppliers. We'll buy in bulk for pantry food and things like that. But not having a big brand name attached to our products will allow us to cut our costs by about 40% on average.
So what are you, I thought you were just doing fruits and vegetables, but you're going to do other products as well?
Yeah, to start out, we're going to have a limit. We don't want to expand, there's obviously no way to compete against Amazon's big marketplace where they have many national brands. But our goal will be to create our own brand. And one unique feature about creating our own brand and having a store brand, generic brand, is that you can really have an emotional attachment to every single product. You can put your marketing, you can put what your Daba represents, and you can put your story behind each single product, which is something that Meijer's, Walmart, Amazon really can't do.
Have you seen this elsewhere? Is there anyone else doing this, what you're doing?
No, so the unique point of this Daba is that no one else has tried to do something that what I'm trying to do. There's a lot of people that have proved that ideas work, and I'm basically combining all that to try to make it work for the communities that need the most help.
Dollar General probably is more your main competition.
That's what I also
would think in some of these smaller communities, they do have Dollar General brand stuff. They are smaller stores in poor communities, smaller poor, so they're probably, I'm guessing, is more your competition.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point because Dollar General can be a competition because they're convenience store type thing. But one of the opportunities that exists is that these Dollar General doesn't have access to the healthy fruits and vegetables, and we can have a business to business plan to where we're selling to the local convenience stores, and we can get a revenue income through that way.
Any other last minute, 30-second question? Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, so we all know that we live in a community with many senior citizens. But have you guys wondered how many exactly? So, according to the 2000 consensus, we have around 30% of the Richmond population that are senior citizens, which comes to around 4,000 households. That is a big number. And what these people are going through, that they're experiencing difficulties caused by the deteriorating conditions of the houses. And they are also having a hard time reaching out to handyman services or a maintenance company that can actually provide them this kind of service that they need in time. So that is why we are here to provide accessible, convenient, and long-term maintenance plans. With only one-time payment, we're going to cover months of their maintenance services and also going to deliver monthly maintenance visits to say hi to them and to check if everything's going all right. And for our profit, we're going to have an estimated profit per household in a single month for $400. And why would they choose our company? Because our marketing strategy is going to revolve around building strong interpersonal connections. And we're going to do that through going to senior activity centers to actually talk to them, to visit them door to door, convincing them that we can reserve the value of their houses and the legacy that has been going on for generations. And so, fixing houses can be hard for you. Getting help shouldn't be. That is why we, Richmond Reliable, are here to help. Thank you.
Teammate?
Yeah, and this is my teammate Aaron Lee from Korea, and this is Fuad Era from Palestine.
Judges?
I have more questions. Okay, I'm limiting it to two. What's the monthly fee? And then I know you said a one-time fee, but if you could go, if you're making $400 a month profit, how much is the homeowner paying a month to you? I don't understand math there.
Okay.
The second question is, as we discussed, as we were reading your thing, it's very hard to find maintenance people who are reliable and on time and good. And where are you going to find these people? So those are my two questions.
Okay, thank you for the questions. At the
Profit.
Yeah, the profit part. So of course, it's only an estimation because we haven't actually got to start the company. We're gonna go with an hourly estimated average hourly rate of $50, and then we're gonna charge them seasonally for mostly. Of course, we're gonna provide one-time services at higher rate, but at seasonally rate for 3 months, we're gonna have around 3 months, we're going to have a total estimate of 18 hours of work done. And that is basically, and we add up to that and minus the maintenance cost we admit. At the cost we estimated, that's our monthly profit for a single household. And we're going to try to, at the first 3 months, we're going to try to expand to 20 households, which compared to the 4,000 shouldn't be too hard of a problem. And for the,
And just FYI, the math you just said does not work. So you just need to go back and, I just put in the numbers you said. That's impossible, that $400 a month profit. So it's just.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And then the second question.
So the second question, you said, so we're gonna attract two kind of employees. We're gonna have, you said it's hard to find these wardenens or handymen. I mean, we're gonna work around the Richmond area, and there are people here in Richmond, we've done research regarding that, but we're also gonna have employees who aren't, people who are unemployed to help with that cause. that are not specifically handymen or experts in that matter. So we're going to combine these two and hold some kind of workshops to help train them. So we're going to have a workforce combined with some specialists and unemployed individuals who are willing to go into that field and get some training.
So I understand this, so you're actually going to be like a general contractor and have full-time employees, maintenance employees working for you, or is it more that you're providing a service, kind of like an Angie's List, where you're working with existing, contractors and subcontractors, and you're, screening them and doing referral service to them? So which is your?
Thank you for the question. For small, we're going to hire full-time employees. We're going to try to make full use of them and pay them with a reasonable rate. And those employees are going to work on the small things that we can work on, like fixing air conditioning or like the lawns and stuff. And for major demolishment, we're going to be the agency to connect to area contractors to build the things that we with our limited resource, we cannot achieve.
I think you've got a good social impact opportunity with being a resource for seniors, almost senior counseling and worker training, but it just seems that would be a better nonprofit organization social service as opposed to a for-profit business. What inspired you to set up this sort of business approach?
So currently in Richmond, the government is actually working on this project called Blight Elimination Project, because as you are aware, there are so many old houses in Richmond and a lot of people have moved out of the town to go to bigger cities. And we know that even the houses that people are residing in are very old and they need maintenance work. But for senior people, it's very difficult for them to sometimes access that, or it's easy to just look over the problems. When really maintaining house interior is one of the not maintaining that contributes to ongoing poverty and low quality of life. And what we want to offer is yes, long-term maintenance plan for them, but we don't want to do it for as a non-profit, because we believe that having profits and resources really motivate people to work for this plan. And certainly there are social
Yes.
Pardon?
And yeah, another thing is that how this is going to work is we're not going to focus on the affordability part, because we're going to do, our main strategy is focus on the marketing, so that actually cannot lower our cost compared to other competitors. But we're going to focus is to reach out to the potential market that just don't know there's such a thing existing. We're going to provide them hassle-free maintenance plan. Let their kids know, let everybody know. And so
last question. Do you know that there is a high enough population of elderly who own the house that they are in to make your numbers work? There's a high level of rental properties that a lot of the elderly are in as well.
that is a reason.
True, but like even though, other than like keeping their the market value and all that, we can focus on bettering their quality of life. Even if they're renting the houses, they want to like better the way they live, and just in general, our marketing strategy is going to target that. It's going to convince them that we need to. We have a very convenient strategy to make them like so. Sorry for this. So our competitors like Omni and Levins and all these are it's different. They don't target the markets the way we do. For us, we're going to convince them that this is a strategy to better life and to
Value houses.
yeah. I mean, even if we don't want to put value on the houses and, as you said, preserve the legacy, we can better their standards of living.
even usually in rented houses, it's for the owners to fix whatever problem there is. It's just the house is rented.
Yeah. We'll try to figure out the details. And that is it. Thank you for the suggestion.
Okay. Caitlin?
So how do you plan to keep the costs low for the seniors? Because most of them are on like fixed income, or they're gonna tell you that like they don't have money for this. So how are you gonna keep those costs low for them within your larger business model?
As long-term maintenance plans, it works almost like insurance. So because they're paying us monthly, the cost is not going to be very, very high for their certain expensive products. But because we're going to check on them regularly, and because we get income from different households monthly, but combining with that capital, we can, when high expensive products are needed to be fixed, then we use that money to allocate the money to that specific household.
As a secondary market base, we might target these people's children who might have more success in terms of financially, who can also help us. Of course, our primary target are these elderly, but also if we reach out using similar marketing strategies to their sons, to their relatives, we can also and use convincing strategies as well. They can also add to that and help in financing for these elderly.
Any other quick last-minute questions? One last-minute question?
I'm curious, so all of you come to Earlham from out of the country. So it seems to me that you're going to start this business that you're committing to Richmond, Indiana for your careers and settling here. Is that accurate?
Well, I'm an American citizen, so I'm probably going to stay here after graduation. I don't know if I'm going to stay in Richmond per se, but I mean, we have a few years left. So we're gonna build some connections and maybe have a management team here, and then we're gonna expand to other cities similar to Richmond in the long term, of course. So I mean, for now, we're gonna just be here, and maybe for a year or two after graduation, and after that, we'll be probably in the U.S. and we can allocate managers and so.
Even though we're not from local Richmond, and we understand that it may seem that we don't understand the community as much, and we're not integrated into the community, but we really believe that as Earlham students, we're also now part of the community, and it's our duty really as people who aspire for higher education. And why? Because we want to contribute back to society, and we believe that we really should assimilate ourselves to the community and be part of it and care for what's going on. So,
great.
Please take us.
Thank you.
So the judges met in the Richmond room for about an hour, and we talked about each of the groups, and we've ranked ordered you, and I'm going to start with, we have a tie for 6th place, okay? And the tie for 6th place is with Richmond Reliable and Easy Connect. So the judges really loved the focus in Richmond and Wayne County, really felt that both of the ideas served a need. We did not have agreement on which business idea served more of a need, so that's why it's a tie. For both groups, we would say we would like you to see a much more robust thinking and plan for the next round. Richmond Reliable, we want you to specifically look at your numbers. Well, first of all, I'll just say, all of you got to look at your numbers. And now Scott has an ally on the board with him, because I also really want to look at the numbers, so I'd like them to be really crisp and clear. And they're not a bad thing. It's good to have money left over at the end of the day so you can reinvest it in your business, okay? So Richmond Reliable, we also would really encourage you to think about not having employees and really thinking about contract workers, and consider other markets besides the elderly. We all believe that having reliable in-home services would benefit the whole community, not just the elderly. For Easy Connect, we had a tremendous concerns about the revenue projections, the costs, how you really were gonna connect with the partners of the schools, and encouraged you to dramatically rethink your revenue model by not charging the rider, but charging the schools and the businesses, and really kind of start over, but we love the idea. So we're happy to tell you to start over. Don't think it's a negative thing when we say to start over. Pivot. Do that entrepreneurial pivot. Okay, like you saw with Resource Fuel. Do that entrepreneurial pivot.
Y'all didn't get that, but I got it.
Rank number 5, 5th place, is the Breakfast Club. We thought you had an excellent thought-out presentation. Wait, where did I write my notes for you? Maybe I didn't write notes. We encourage you to, we have to admit some of our hesitation, we might be cultural, and we just want to acknowledge that, not quite understanding the Vietnamese systems over there, but it just seemed confusing to us that parents are going to order a breakfast for the kids that are going to be delivered by a third party at the school, and it just seemed like a logistical challenge, and who ensures that the kids get the right breakfast, and who's really going to pay for it, and why would the school want that? I mean, we had a lot of swirl there, so we think, and then I was explaining how the folks in Mumbai, India, deliver lunch from the suburbs into the city very efficiently on bicycles even to this day. And so there are business models out in the world that would never work in America that could easily work in another country. And so we just really want you to be clearer about the market, what's happening there, and the relationships with the school districts, and how that could work. Okay? Number 4. We're up to $500. Here we go. Number 4 is going to be Resource Fuel. We really were happy with your pivot, that you saw that you weren't getting where you wanted to go, and as Scott said, you did that entrepreneurial pivot. We were thrilled with that you were solving a problem, and that the government was at least having some commitment to bikes through bike lanes and a bike initiative. Our concerns with you really was, we called it a lack of passion. Not that you weren't passionate, but it didn't seem to us that you've been thinking about this problem your whole life and you decided that you were going to fix it right now. Now you finally had the opportunity, and to be an entrepreneur is a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and I just want to make sure if you're going to give that much blood, sweat, and tears, it's on this problem for you. We also had concerns just about the logistics of the bikes, where they're going to park, where they're going to pay, the cost of recouping a bicycle, because if someone is going to ride a bike from the center city outward, and where they're going to park that bike, and locks, and et cetera. So we had a lot of logistics questions for you. And then we also had questions because some of the calculations around, it seemed like there'd be between 6 and 20 miles in this area that you're looking at. And by American standards, it seemed like a long way to bike for work. But we don't know in Nepal, so we want you to do that research. And also really encourage you to leverage the government bike initiatives to see how much finances and resources and help you can get from the government. Okay? Is that? Third place is La Centuria. We were obviously really impressed on the social impact, really thrilled about your knowledge and interest and experience in the space, and that you're using that existing model in the organization in India. We saw that all as tremendous strengths for you. Our concerns, and we also like the connection of, the earning money, supporting the nonprofit, and having that connection. Our concerns were your first choice of location of Oaxaca, Mexico, and although the data drove you there, we were really concerned as your first entrepreneurial venture, we would want you to be in a location that you had experience and connections on the ground. And so we had a concern there. We also weren't quite sold on the craft idea and so we want you to reconsider your economic model, and we encourage you to consider more skills, training and skills that are transferable. And you mentioned briefly about office skills, but you didn't talk about that in your talk. And we encourage you to either look at it maybe almost like as an employment agency. You're bringing these mostly women in, you're retraining them, and then you're maybe giving them your A-OK to go out and work without the potential of cultural appropriation from indigenous crafts and things like that. We also encourage you to investigate an organization in Indiana called Ascend that has a similar model. And also there's an organization out of Massachusetts called Year Up, which is a completely different focus, but they have a unique model of private funding to help train people. Okay, so we would encourage you to investigate those two business models. Now, here's the real money. Despite giving you a really hard time, we gave number 2 slot to Daba. So congratulations. We walked in the room and we kind of did the top half, bottom half. And I was like, I put Daba in the top. They all looked at me. They're like, you gave him such a hard time. I'm like, yeah, I still put him in the top. So congratulations. We thought your presentation was well organized. You handled our questions well, and we were really impressed. And our biggest concern, will not be a surprise for you, is the competitive landscape. We encourage you to, as Scott says, go where Amazon Fresh is not. So I would encourage you not just look at Amazon Prime, but really look at Amazon Fresh. The government has designated food deserts, and we really want to make sure that your focus in Kansas City is that. And if you find a government designated food desert, there's more money and resources and buildings available to you. And we would just encourage you to pick your starting point very wisely. And get your numbers straight. Okay? So, by process of elimination, the winner of this year's elevator pitch round is Marciani Farms.
Wow.
So congratulations.
And sorry, it's pronounced as Mashinani.
Marcinani. For what? Oh, okay. We were, learning that this is a continuation for you from last year. So, we were just really impressed that you're building on what you learned last year to come back again. Your write-up was thorough, and as a judge to come into this the pitch, this pitch round with that was really impressive. It was well developed. It seemed like you had a pretty viable business plan, and we were really happy that you know your market. You picked a location that you know well, and that you were a farmer, and you know what you're talking about. So again, we really were impressed by that. We're concerned about the numbers, the margins, and your suppliers, and where are you getting the supplies for your bees, trees, etc. as you move forward. Our big advice is to really keep going. I mean, just keep doing the work that you're doing. You're doing a great job. And then the last thing is your tagline in our minds didn't align with what you presented, so you might want to reconsider your tagline. And that was all of our feedback.
I want the participants to understand that they didn't just walk in and grab their box lunches. They actually sat down and did some analysis, critical analysis, so please take their inputs to heart. You don't have to. But you all are going to the next round. The next round is the business model canvas. So building upon what perhaps you already knew, what the judges gave you, you now have a nice foundation. I will tell you that last year, Team Methane Hub tied with a team that came up from the bottom up, and they tied for first place in the next round. So please take these to heart, work hard, and as Gina said to Daniel, build upon the foundations that you have and use the business model canvas to tweak, pivot, whatever the right word is, so you're refining your idea so you can ultimately move down to the business plan finals round. So, yes, Scott.
Everything we talked about would be things that I would help people with for free at my office or over here if I need to.
Or teleconference.
Or teleconference. So everything that she gave constructive criticism on are things that I do with clients every day. And so I'm offering, shame on you if you don't come.
And how much does it cost?
It is $19.90. No, it's free.
It's free. Now, I will tell you, Team Magic Bus leveraged Scott Underwood's expertise early in their business journey to the finals and ultimately the Holt Prize. For how much? Free.
Yes.
And if he needs to get other resources, he will tell you, oh, this is a resource, but I will try to get it to you for free. So we have resources at Earlham. You have Seth Powell, you have Becky Justice, you have Robert Couch, you have Gene Hambrick. You now have resources in the community for free. Scott Zimmerman has offered, again, to pass out his email, and I think Lon is going to get that. She's going to push that out to you for free. Scott Underwood is ready. We're ready. Gina, are you free? Not free, that way. It's just a question. Don't go there? Okay. Don't go there. Okay. So we may not put Gina on that, but she is doing this for free. So again, let's give everybody a big round of applause. We're finishing right on time, which is great. And so again, all teams are moving to the Cameo Round, so start the process whenever you need to start up again. Reach out to any of us. But again, thank you. Thank you, Roma. Thank you, Lon. Thank you for the audio visual. Thank you, Met. This was terrific. Thank you.